Hey everybody, welcome back to the Thrillcat Cinema Lab. Once again, we are here talking to all of the big players who take all their wares to CEDIA every year and show them off for those who are looking for the best performance in their home theater, audio and video wise. And we have someone today who's one of my favorite people in general, but he's also obviously one of my favorite people in the industry. Very good friend of mine, Chris Seymour, is here joining us today with Seymour-Screen Excellence. And he's one of those companies that fits both the audio and the video aspect of it, because as we were just discussing, Seymour is kind of the go-to for an audio company who doesn't want to skimp on the picture, but they also want to not interfere with their audio signal when they put the speakers behind the screen. So, Chris, welcome to the lab.
Hey, thanks. Nice lab you got. It's pretty.
I've got the lighting going on here these days.
That's all it takes is lighting.
Yep. So tell me a little bit about what you are. Your kind of primary room is your room with StormAudio and Ascendo and Movia seating, and who else do you have going? MadVR is in there with you. So tell me a little bit about that main room that you're doing. What are you showing in there this year?
You bet. It's kind of all the best companies that we know of and can pull together. We got Christie Digital bringing an Eclipse. So if you've never seen their 6 DLP technology, it's amazing. It's 3 cabinets, 3 circuits. It's 208 volt, 30 amperes, and it's nuts. But it's going to bring a color fidelity and a volume and a depth that most people have not experienced before, and that's part of that. We're going to push the video envelope as far as you've experienced to give you a new experience. But then, you alluded to the audio as well. We've got simplified acoustics, bringing in acoustic panels and treatments as well. Mm-hmm. And Ascendo's got some remarkable new products they're going to be showing. And we've been working with them since, I think, 2016 or 17 at CEDIA's off and on. But they're always bringing this very innovative technology, and this is going to be, you're going to want to take pictures of this. So stand next to it.
Very nice. Very nice. But your screen, what screen are you putting in?
So we are going to bring our Enlighter Neo back this year. We had it a couple of years ago. It has no minimum seating distance. There's no phase effect or EQing issues. That's why the audio guys love them. No visible features, no holes, no weave, no perf, no texture. So that's why the video guys love it. Mm-hmm. But this package that we've not brought before is called the multi-format retractable, the MFR. And it's a retractable screen with retractable masking. And we've never exhibited this product before. And it's neat to see. It's a patented product. We actually have a patent on, we're the only company that has fabric velvet borders. So the 2 inches around the image are a true deep pile fabric velvet. Mm-hmm. We use sewing machines to make these screens. We don't paint shower curtains. We're stitching product with sewing machines. And so the patent covers that, as well as then hiding the tab tensioning cables behind those strips of velvet, so that you get this nice tight rectangular look, not the giant hourglass thing. Mm-hmm. You're hiding more of that cabling, which we kind of call a penalty, because nobody's going to pay you for, hey, I want some cables. Right. They want, maximum image, maximum acoustics. Tucking that a couple inches away, it pops out kind of in the corners there a little bit, but we want to show what a sophisticated package this is. Plus, the idea of using a retractable screen with a Christie Digital Eclipse projector, I don't know if anybody's doing that. So it's kind of a shock that it's kind of like, bringing a car and tires that don't match until you've tried them, and then there's a lot of reasons why this is going to work. So. Yeah,
and retractable. This is not a set up a tripod and pull it down when it's time to do geography class or something. This is I mean, I happen to recall your theater has dual retractable screens for different aspect ratios. Use masking? Nah, we'll just use an extra screen, and that's a great solution.
Yeah, we've had people do that. Just do a couple screens at a our record, and you kind of have the best of all worlds. But with this Christie, we're gonna set it up as basically with another partner, Panamorph, and so Panamorph is bringing an all new lens that they've developed that is I won't explain it completely because I'm going to be there at the show learning how to sell their product too. But it's a compounded lens as I understand it, so it actually features kind of both expansion and compression maybe, but there's no geometric distortion, but it's their kind of chef's French kiss at okay, what can they do in this situation to turn this remarkable projector into basically a constant height native. And then the MadVR, their scaling then will behave as such so that the 16.9 will be within that. And we'll engage the masking automatically from MadVR to our controller. So we're going to be showing that kind of compatibility. And Movia Seating's got an app. So we're just going to show you how one room can be tied together really well. And we got about 3 days to build it.
That's the exciting part, right?
I know you're excited about that.
Some people call it exciting. Some people call it panic. Some people call it exhaustion. But it's always fun to come out the other end and sit down and hear it and see it for that first time. Because it's, a couple of years ago we did the video of the setting up of your room, and it's just fantastic to see it come from that box to a really high performing theater in such a short amount of time.
Well, and that's the fun part. And we've got Kaleidoscape also participating in there. So we'll bundle up together a nice tight little, we've been called before carefully curated. So I want to hold that again. Now I especially can't just throw stuff. I got to actually curate it. So I want to hold that title again. But that's the fun part. And I actually, when I bring the audiences in, I'm grateful for their time and ability to show, because that's the magic. It's one thing to just make products and pay our bills, but this is the special sauce where you can set your kids down or your mom down or anybody. They don't care how you did it. It's just lovely. It's it's an experience.
Yeah. Looping back a little bit, you brought up Panamorph, and that's something that it seems to be, that's a segment of the market that is, I don't want to say making a comeback like they weren't around, but for a while there, all of a sudden, lens memory settings came out and everyone started thinking, well, don't need a lens anymore. But what they do add is brightness, and using, when you're watching scope content, you're using every single picture in the projector, or every single pixel in that projector. And, there's also, just like seeing something that was filmed with an anamorphic lens, there's just something more organic about using that anamorphic glass to fill your screen, with thick, rich color. It's not digitally manipulated. It's kind of the Tarantino of home theater. It's a product that I've just been fascinated with and wish I could afford at this point. But I've been.
It does. It gives this qualitative aspect of things. Almost it's a maybe a filmic look, but not in a derogatory sense where people are thinking it's soft or it's dim or it's like this is still going to be a digital presentation, but through real glass. For that effect, but it gives more than the brightness as well. You touched to that a little bit. With a good anamorphic lens, you can get your 16:9 panels brightness out to scope instead of zooming the whole thing out to this. And so when we run the calculators for folks and they're asking how many nits they're going to have on screen, it's quite frequent that that they're like, well, my image is this, and I tell them, well, actually, your panel is blowing out to this because you have to match the width.
Yeah.
So that's where you get that 30 to 35%, I think, light boost from that. Now, what's interesting is that this year we'll have the horsepower with Christie Digital that one could also argue, well, you don't need the horsepower because you got that much power behind it. But we're going to show what these two can actually do together.
Right.
And what I think will be very interesting is, I don't know what levels we're going to hit, but in some pre-testing, we've seen 300, 400, 500 nits on screen, which really just the direct view folks have been doing. So a lot of the attention toward giant TVs because they get really bright.
Yeah.
Well, we could actually do a film screen presentation of that using the same material that the leading mastering studios. So the material the source was mastered on. And still with all the acoustic best practices and the video best practices, and what is that all together? Yeah, looks like your lighting went a little dark there.
Yeah.
Now, not everybody's a fan of that kind of brightness, that TV brightness. But what does TV brightness levels do on film screen? It's pretty remarkable. That's going to be something that's very interesting. And the Enlighter Neo we're using is it's a unbenchmarked. It's a 0.8 gain material. So to get 300 plus nits out of a 0.8 gain material in a dark room, like it's going to have kind of an outer space effect to it. But it's a new venture where they're really pushing Christie and the luxury distribution group, the guys that distribute that. They're really pushing the envelope with very high brightness. And I always wonder what's going to happen to then the guidelines, because guidelines were still advising people 100 nits is white level and the current state of the art. But what happens when that triples or goes even higher? What does that do maybe to the art form or in practice as well?
Right. Well, and I was going to say too is even if you don't necessarily need the extra brightness you're going to get from that lens. Now I'm looking the right direction.
Okay.
Technical difficulties, folks. Even if you don't necessarily need the brightness you're going to get from the lens, you can clamp down your iris and boost your contrast. It's another one of those tools that brings a lot of options to the table when you put it in, and you can choose what you want to do more. You want more contrast? You want more nits? What do you want to?
I'm a huge proponent of Chris Steering. Will advise. HDR is always pushing these higher specular highlight levels, but Chris always raises the yellow flag, like, hey, don't just go to a high brightness projector,
right? Because
as he correctly points out, HDR, there's no B in there. There's no brightness. It's about dynamics, and dynamics always starts at black. Mm-hmm. And so what to be worried about is that you're cranking up your brightness, but then you're elevating your black floors, and then you actually can end up with a very bright but less dynamic image.
Right.
And that's not what anybody wants. And what the Christie Digital can do with their Eclipse is, because it's a true RGB laser projector, is that black floor stays 0. And then what does 0 to 300 nits look like? That's going to be something to see.
Very excited to see it. So, and this room with Seymour and Christie and StormAudio and Movia and Ascendo acoustics or speakers audio. Mm-hmm. This is Sound Room 7. This will definitely be one to check out. But that's not the only Seymour-Screen that's going to be at CEDIA. There's several other. I think you said you had 5 screens in 5 different rooms this year. Where else can we be found?
So one of the things that's unique to our room is we took the sound room and then we made it deeper by 8 feet, so we can fit 3 rows and have good seating. So that back row, you're still going to be 5 feet from the back wall or something. So you got some good spacing. You're not going to be right next to a speaker, unless you consider the giant subwoofers speakers. But that's people pay admission for that. So.
Sure.
But the reason I bring that up is that our neighbor next to us, which we're also in, is the StormAudio's room with PMC, and they're a lengthened room as well. So they're going to be another kind of a bigger than normal sound room experience.
Larger than life.
Larger than life.
And then 3 more screens. So, and you mentioned most of them, I think you said 4 of them are acoustically transparent scope screens. And then you have another one that's it's not acoustically transparent. It's 16:9, and the masking on that is actually a new velvet masking, since it doesn't need to be acoustically transparent.
Yeah, this is going to be Sound Room 11. This is Lumagen, Next Level Acoustics, Trinnov, DPI, and in that room then Valencia seating, I think.
Yep.
Anyway, it's a great room as well. And Jim from Lumagen is going to really show off what he's doing with his new product as well. Anyway, the new feature that we're going to be bringing in is this in our trim masking screen, which is our entry-level masking screen platform. 120 inches wide, which diagonal I think is like 149 maybe, but top bottom mask. But what's the new feature we're showing off is these masks are going to be fabric velvet, so not acoustically transparent. But they'll match the frame, so you don't have that kind of two-tone look, which for non-acoustic screens, they don't need acoustic masks. Right. So we can kind of go for dark, but working with velvet is very difficult in rolled form, but we've developed a new material that can do that. Otherwise, it's kind of like it's around like a rolling carpet. It'll want to run around, but we redid the material, changed the backing, changed the pile, matched the frame. So I think we got it.
Excellent. And that'll be automated by the Lumagen.
Yeah.
So no sitting there clicking a button or selecting or programming even. It's just, you set it up once and it goes automatically. Are the other rooms have motorized masking? I know your main room is the retractable, but okay.
Yeah, and then in another sound room with Crix, their speaker company, Sound Room 12. So we've got acoustically transparent and lighter Neo screen in their room, and then they always do a wonderful demo with the folks from Steinway Lingdorf. We're going to be in what they call the high performance audio rooms, which are kind of downstairs, and you enter. That's where you get your badges and you kind of go downstairs, not all the way downstairs, but it's just right behind that kind of badge area. And I've looked at those rooms before, and those rooms I've always suspected as being very difficult to play in because they're equal dimensions, or they're like 20 by 40 or wherever they are. They're not acoustically designed.
Right.
But I've been in Steinway Lingdorf's demonstrations before in these types of rooms with metal walls and just the worst rooms, and they just sound beautiful. Their Room Perfect EQ does this sort of pretty remarkable job of cleaning up some of the, I'm not gonna say worst spaces, but they'll always be impressive with what they can do with their technology in these types of rooms. So kudos to them for taking that on, because I know they can pull it off.
Yeah,
they're showing their new line source speakers, which I'm especially excited about because I love line sources. I love nice tall, presentations.
Yeah. Back to being able to fix what the room has broken. That's something that when I started building this room, it's not an ideal room. My doorway doesn't have a door. It stairs up to the open space living room, which is also goes straight up to the open space master bedroom. There's like the only doors this house has is the front door and the bathroom doors. And it's just not an ideal situation, but having put the StormAudio, I'm running the ISR Fusion in here right now. And what it has done is it's really fixed a lot of what's not right about the room. It's kind of that misconception of my room's not perfect enough to invest that much, in a Storm processor or in a Trinnov, but those are almost the perfect candidates because they really help you make the most out of your room. And Steinway Lingdorf is the same. It's their Room Perfect, I believe it's called.
Room Perfect.
Room Perfect correction.
If I said it wrong, yeah.
Yeah.
It's remarkable what they're doing with the technology, electroacoustically, and we still always, advise spending money on panels and fixing your room is always the first money to spend. But it's not always aesthetically possible. It's not always like construction possible. Like, you'd like to blow, how about you just blow out that back wall, Travis? Get another 10 feet of that. But it's not always possible. Yeah. And but even in those situations, I mean, even when it is possible, then their technology gets you that next little bit or that perfection where it's exciting to experience.
Yep. Most definitely. What else is going on with Seymour-Screen Excellence or SeymourAV? Not to get off the CEDIA channel, but you have two lines of your product. What's going on? Any new you've always been a little bit innovative. You had the retro masking, you have some of those, you come up with new solutions to problems that people have as they're building their theaters or trying to plan a theater, trying to retrofit a theater into a room that wasn't initially designed to be a theater. You find solutions, and you build to fit, build to order. Anything new and fun that people should know about this time around?
So in front of the sound room, we're going to have a little static display area where we're going to have we're going to be showing a 4-way masking screen that's going to be automatically controlled by the MadVR, but it'll allow you to sit and talk with Evan, who developed the electronics, and you could just punch through different ratios and watch the screen change and sit there and talk to him, ask him questions, poke holes in the box if you like. That'll be covered so you can't poke holes in it. And really challenge us there. But then next to that is also going to be a new feature option that we're showing off on the adjustable ratio theaters, called the flip wall. And this came from these large installations where, for whatever reason, they still don't have access back behind the speakers. Maybe it's an exterior wall, and they're concerned about servicing product behind the screen. And that can be difficult, getting our product down and off and then servicing back behind. And what we found is the solution where we can then flip wall. Basically, we take the whole screen wall and it's motorized, and we're going to bring it up, lift it up, so that then you can, just like your car hood, you can dive in and swap out whatever needs swapping or servicing. And then, so we'll have a model of that. The prototype, not prototype, because we've already built these in installations, but this will be a motorized version that then you'll be able to show off. So we're excited about that. We've actually got projects lined up to incorporate that feature.
Excellent.
Now, on the SeymourAV side of things, of course, they're not showing anything at CEDIA because it's not a CEDIA brand. It's a direct-to-consumer brand. But a new product that we're coming out with is a golf impact screen. And we've already made this in retractable screens. So we're in the process of, we'll be adding that to the website shortly. But as again, you mentioned, kind of room conversion. How do we make the most out of the room in these spaces that may not be as dedicated? They might have to have a little multi-purpose, but playing golf downstairs in the basement. I mean, you can't beat that, and especially February in Iowa.
Right.
So retractable. This is a new material. Then this is a golf impact material that has 3 components to it. So we took our well-known, you've had it before as well, the center stage UF2 material. So that's the front layer, and then in the middle layer is this kind of perpendicular. The threads are coming this way, but that impacts the golf. That absorbs the impact from the golf ball. And then there's a backing layer then as well to tie all that together. So you get best-in-class impact mechanical performance, but now you get this acoustic transparent projection screen, actual material that has done so well or has been so acclaimed, I guess.
So when you hit a bird, you can hear the bird impact right where it hit, or for me, the as it goes into the tree. You see the tree and you hear the ball going through it right where the tree is on screen. Very nice.
So now with retractable, the trick is you got to make this thing really wall to wall, floor to ceiling, because you can't have large spaces for the ball to go through. So now because everything we do is custom, it's good for us then to get those exact measurements of your exact room, and we'll make you a screen in Iowa to those exact dimensions. And that's something you can't do in an imported product. But we still have velvet borders. Actually, it's a fatter padded velvet bar at the bottom. So it's interesting seeing that one of the interesting things. I know you're an aspect ratio fan like me. Is that in these applications, because you need to fit wall to wall, floor to ceiling, you're no longer really tied to an aspect ratio, because it's going to be whatever the room calls for it to be. It's just probably usually closer to like a 1.4 or something, whatever. But they're going to mask the projector to fit that. Okay. But that took that was an interesting change for me, and a different mindset, because I'm always thinking in film and what ratios do you want to watch content on. But this is more of a VR type experience. So,
how big can you go with those?
It's our height limitation is around 10 feet. I might have to measure again. Kind of depends on the retractable product as well. We'll be coming out with it in fixed frame type solutions as well. But just being the cinema folks, we're excited about these first applications where. Behind that is a nice home theater with speakers, another Seymour-Screen, but this one you can't hit golf balls at, or shouldn't.
Please don't.
Or just toss your remote into. But those are those are the exciting first steps we did, and then we'll be developing more into that. Full padded room type, what do you do if you don't need it to retract and have a home cinema? You just want to.
I know the padded room, Chris.
Do you?
So back to that though, you said there's the screen layer, the backing layer, and then there's the perpendicular layer. Does it catch it and stop it from coming back at the golfer, and just kind of let it drop straight down, or what is the purpose of that perpendicular layer in the middle other than just padding? Does
it deadens? So if you don't have that type of material, if you have something, let's just say like a canvas, well, you can't tension that very flat at all before it then becomes a live diaphragm and it's going to pop back, and your 200 mile an hour golf balls now has more energy than you want coming back into the room. So what then those screen folks will do or in those applications is they'll dead the material, dead drop it. So they'll put like a chain on the bottom and they'll flap it out, and it's all wavy and goosey, but then it's a dead product that you're smacking against. So you won't kill yourself, but they look terrible. Now, on a golf course, I mean, it's the waving hills and stuff. It's maybe a little forgivable, but it's also about geometry, especially when you're zooming in for the putts. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want your screen doing this when
Right.
the course isn't doing that. So what this 3-layer material allows us to do is we can then actually tension it into a visually flat product.
Yeah.
It's not quite as tight as our home theater, but doesn't need, as long as flat is flat. Flat is good.
Yeah.
And then that, so you got your screen layer here, and then perpendicular to that are these fibers that are, I don't know, maybe an eighth of an inch thick or something, and they're just a billion springs. So the ball hits that, then these springs where you hit it, it's gonna suck that up and then turn it into what'll feel like a dead material mechanically. And then the back is just to kind of tie everything together then as well.
Very cool.
Yeah, but that's kind of our first steps into that. But it's had good feedback thus far.
Very good. And that's on the SeymourAV line?
Yeah, that'll be in the SeymourAV side. It's a material called Back 9. We're actually going to make it available in the DIY market too, just because we've always loved DIYers. If you're ambitious with the staple gun or a grommet press, have at it. Do your best.
Seems like it'd go over great with the CEDIA market as well.
Perhaps, but we like to play with the enthusiasts kind of directly, like really nerd it out and kind of get the tough feedback, and like these guys, they don't hold back anything. So let us know, and if it gets through that gauntlet, then you've got a product that the folks that aren't going to want to put it through its paces. They just expect it to, be perfect from the beginning, which is great. But the nerd, the AV science, those are my people. So
yeah, very good, very good. Well, I don't have any other interrogation questions for you. I would just say that definitely want to check out Soundroom 7, the Storm, Seymour, Ascendo, Christie, Kaleidoscape, MadVR, Movia. I can't wait to sit in those Movia seats. I don't think my room is big enough. It's not wide enough to put those in there, but good Lord, they look comfy.
They're gorgeous. They're quite comfy. I love, they were pushing, they did this last year, and I just love them, but it was called the kind of more of a family style. And so instead of, armchair, this was 4 seats across. Maybe they were a little bit wider, but deleting those arms gave us more seating capabilities within the limited room. But to me, it felt like home, and it just felt wonderful. And we could on their app, we could hit it and they'd all recline or go back. They're classy and beautiful.
They're programmable into an automation system too, right? So you can just hit play and automatically. That's probably my biggest rabbit hole over the last couple of years has been the automation side of things, where hit play, the lights come down. I've even got some little Easter egg automations now built into my system. So, normally the Kaleidoscape sends the trigger that, hey, it's the end credits, and the lights start slowly creeping up to a nice dim level, but enough that if we wanted to get up and, move about the cabin, we could. But I've got some Easter eggs now. So if we're watching The Matrix, the lighting comes up, but it's green at the credits. And if we're watching Purple Rain, it's a purple theme. And so I've been doing some fun little things like that that'll surprise people when they come over for movie nights and they happen to select something that has some sort of a color theme to it. So fun stuff like that. I love the automation side of it, and I never thought I'd care about it, but it's just, you hit a certain point and it's like, that's pretty fun.
We were partnered with, I think it was Wisdom in, I think, around 2015, and they did, no, 2015, 17. I'm at the age where everything's 8 years ago, right? But they had, they demoed Tron Legacy, and then in the scene where it kicks into and they go into the virtual world, then the lighting at the Officina Acustica room turned to cyan. And, not always a fan of those things, but like this is so great.
I wouldn't normally leave the lighting on during a movie, but when something like that happens, there's a definite cool factor to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, Chris, I'm looking forward to seeing you at CEDIA, catching up, and hearing and seeing all these rooms, all your screens. You know, you're kind of, you're in all those big name rooms, and there's a reason, and that's because your screens look great and they don't do anything to the audio. You know, when you're putting $750,000 worth of speakers behind a screen, you don't want to muffle it. You don't want to, you know, you don't want to make it, you don't want to affect the sound at all. And that's why your screens are the screen of choice for, you know, companies like Ascendo and Next Level and Steinway and Trinnov and Storm. So looking forward to catching up and looking forward to seeing these rooms and geeking out a little bit.
The Ascendo product that they're bringing in is so big. They're subwoofers. I think I'm allowed to say what they are. They're dual 64-inch subwoofers. I've heard they're 50 before, and it sounds remarkably musical. You'd look at this thing and think it's a tubby thing, or right. No, it's tight, it's beautiful, it's musical. Like you barely know it's there, and except you can see it quite well. But they're coming out with this 64-inch model, and being CEDIA, of course, we need two.
Right.
And they're so big that the convention center has to build the room around the subwoofers. So we have to place them first, and then they have to construct this sound room around that. So I'm excited for that.
Fun. I remember several years ago working to try and get one of their large, I think it might have been an 80. And we were trying to get it in the crate at the end of the show with the forklift, and they pack that. It's like they build the crate around the sub, and then they just
that was their 50 actually.
Week it out. That was the 50. Okay,
that was the 50. So this is going to be. We had a static model out that year.
Yeah,
but I heard it live down at the Atlanta Home Theater. I think a year later or something. But it becomes drivers so large that I think they're 80. They actually do build into the room. Like it's actually they don't get a box. I think they build it in. Okay. I don't want to speak too much for them, but it's that. And then I think their new Halo is what they're calling it. Their left, center, right channels, and they're so skunk works. Like I haven't even seen pictures yet of this. Like I'm excited. Just it's going to be really innovative.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's call it a night here. I apologize for the technical difficulties. Hopefully the viewers didn't notice because I was able to edit out some of that stuff. But Chris, looking forward
17
to
minutes of black screen. Yeah, nobody will see that.
I'm just going to put a static effect in there instead of black, like the old days. All right. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thanks, Travis. Good talking to you, buddy.